Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today we're going to continue our missing character series, where we'll go over some lore, speculate how they would act in game, and finally how they could be implemented. Today's character is Gracia Thanquol, so without further ado, let's begin. To familiarize people who might not be aware of Gracia Thanquol, we'll read over his entry into the 7th edition Skaven Army Book. Thanquol is a Gracia of great distinction, a particularly favoured agent of the Council of 13. Over missions beyond counting, Thanquol has commanded armies, sought information or artifacts, supported furtive clandestine activities, and attempted to fan insurrection among the enemies of the Skaven. Ambitious and self-serving, even by Skaven standards, Thanquol misses no opportunity to use his scheming guile to improve his own standing. He is a master at manipulating or misunderstanding orders to his own personal advantage. Thanquol is shrewd and constantly re-evaluates his plans, always probing for different angles or new benefits to be gained. That so many of his assignments go so disastrously wrong is not, as he has often assured the Council, anything like his fault. Over time, Thanquol has sustained his frantic pace and powerful magics through the copious use of Warpstone. The vivid, if twisted visions that race through Thanquol's warp-addled mind have given the Gracia more than unusual insight. This sixth sense has caused Thanquol to alter plans at the last minute, or urged him to jump twitchingly for no tangible reason. Although erratic, this sudden instinct has saved Thanquol's life on more than one occasion. However, the misfortunes or well-aimed shots that Thanquol avoids invariably strike down someone nearby. Perhaps this is why the other Skaven fear Thanquol so much. All Gracias have a particular field of expertise, and Thanquol has chosen to study humans. From Talia to the northern boundaries of the Empire, Thanquol has an extensive knowledge of the Man-Things languages and history, and has spent much time seeking the best ways to manipulate such creatures. Thanquol has had much success corrupting and bribing many individuals, building a nefarious network of informers and agents in many of the major human cities. Of late, Thanquol's devious plans have encountered a series of setbacks, although by the blessing of the Horned Rat, even these calamities seem to fall in favour of the Gracia. In the year 2499 of the Imperial calendar, Thanquol gave the order to attack the human city of Null. Half the city was destroyed, along with the entire Warlord clan assigned to execute his military plan. That clan scab had been a threat to the Council of 13 was unbeknownst to Thanquol at the time, but the cunning Gracia quickly claimed credit and exploited the situation to his advantage. What most other Skaven remember is that Thanquol smashed a treacherous clan, and not that he failed in his main mission with severe losses. Thanquol has almost stolen secret plans, almost collapsed dwarf holds, almost started civil wars, and almost succeeded any number of times. Behind the failure of many of Thanquol's schemes have been two notorious figures, the mighty dwarf slayer Gotrek Gurnisson and his human companion Felix Jaeger. It is only a matter of time before Thanquol's superior genius devises a method cruel enough to avenge the indignities suffered at the hands of those fools. In recognition of his somewhat modified successes, Thanquol has been given a gift by the Council of 13, a mutant rat ogre bodyguard. Over the years, Thanquol has not been lucky with bodyguards, losing many in a variety of horrible ways. Each time a rat ogre is lost, it is replaced thanks to the rebuilding and regrowing efforts of Clan Skryre and Clan Moulder. Several times, this new version of his bodyguard has even used the remaining material of the deceased beast to work with. Regardless, the new improved rat ogre is traditionally named Boneripper. With this sturdy, if mindless help and his own twitchy yet invaluable paranoia, Thanquol once again seeks to serve the Lords of Decay, and himself of course, to the best of his abilities. Greyseer Thanquol is a massively large fan favourite, and we can be certain that he will eventually be added into the Total War Warhammer series alongside Boneripper, as both of them are a bit of a package deal. There are two main iterations of Thanquol and Boneripper. The first was the more traditional look for a Greyseer and an augmented Rat Ogre, which was used throughout earlier editions all the way until the end of 8th. The second was introduced during the End Times, which gave the Greyseer a more unique look when compared to other Greyseers, with Boneripper being upgraded visually to look more and act more like a Stormfiend. I honestly believe that Thanquol himself will take after his End Times appearance more than anything, whereas Boneripper will vary greatly. Instead of having only one Boneripper, there might be multiple options to represent the various types of Bonerippers. The first would be a standard augmented Rat Ogre, the second would have more mutations, and the third would take its End Time appearance, which would also act as a mount option for the Greyseer. In an effort to avoid confusion, we'll discuss Thanquol first and Boneripper second. Thanquol is a spellcaster. His stats on the tabletop themselves were really quite average. There was nothing spectacular about it. What sets him apart from other Greyseers is that he was decently competent in using spells from both the Lore of Ruin and the Lore of Plague. Because of that, Thanquol should have access to both Laws of Magic, also having both respective laws for spells unlocked, so he may freely pick and choose throughout the two laws. Now, in regards to special rules, Thanquol has two. Please bear in mind I'll be covering the rules found in the 7th edition army book rather than the End Times one, as these seem to be a bit more balanced. Warpstone addiction, which goes as follows. Thanquol is addicted to Warpstone, and has been known to liberally use the raw chaos matter. While this has unhinged his sanity, it does also have its advantages. Thanquol can absorb quantities of the precious stuff with few side effects, save for occasional eye bulging, facial twitches, or a suspicion that his own whiskers are following him. When casting a spell, if Thanquol rolls a 1 with any power dice generated by a Warpstone token, he can reroll the dice. The second result will cause a wound on a roll of a 1 or 2. This can be translated rather simply. Warpstone tokens are already in game, and if memory serves, they increase power reserve by a certain amount, but also give you an increased chance of miscasting. If no friendly model is within 6 inches, the wound fails to deflect anywhere and is ignored. More than likely, this will be translated into a natural ward save instead of adding in a deflection mechanic. As cool as that does sound, unfortunately it doesn't seem very practical. But with that, we can move on to Thanquol's magical items. First, we have the Warp Amulet. As long as he has at least a single wound remaining at the beginning of each of his turns, Thanquol can use the amulet to heal himself. On a roll of a 5+, Thanquol regains a single wound. This is easy enough to translate as having the regeneration special rule. The Staff of the Horned One allows Thanquol to know an additional spell, therefore Thanquol has 5 spells, not 4. This is in regards to the tabletop, where spellcasters would only have 4 spells if they were a level 4 wizard. However, in a way to make Thanquol more unique, it could be that he could have a spell specifically only allowed to be used by him. There are a few Skaven spells that were introduced in supplement editions to Warhammer Fantasy Battle, so maybe one of those could be introduced to make Thanquol more unique. And finally, Warpstone tokens. Thanquol always starts the game with D6 plus 2 Warpstone tokens. Normal Greyseers would only have D3 Warpstone tokens. This could be introduced as a special item with multiple charges, but in a much stronger effect than what the Greyseers would normally have. It's true that Thanquol is indeed lacking in special rules, but you have to take into account that this was a 2-character package. If you had Thanquol, you also had a Boneripper. Boneripper being a series of augmented rat ogres which served as the bodyguard for Thanquol himself. Nothing too amazing in terms of stats, yes, a high strength and toughness ratio, but unfortunately rat ogres in all forms of Warhammer Fantasy Battle suffered from very low weapon skill, but I imagine that in Total War Warhammer he'd be a bit more killier. In terms of special rules, Boneripper had Unbreakable and Fear. The standard edition of Boneripper also had a Warp Fire Thrower, which once per game he could fire like a breath weapon. Now, Boneripper's big rule was known as Bodyguard of Phanqual, which goes as follows. Boneripper is a specially modified rat ogre constructed to guard the Greyseer. Boneripper must be within 12 inches of Thanquol. If at the start of any friendly turn, Boneripper is not within 12 inches of his master, then he is programmed to shut down. While shut down, Boneripper cannot move, and in combat he will be automatically hit and will not strike back. The way I see this being done is in a very similar sense to Gotrek and Felix. The moment you recruit Thanquol, you would also get access to Boneripper, or at least one variant of Boneripper. As you would level up the Greyseer, you would then be able to upgrade Boneripper as you go. This would force Thanquol and Boneripper to always be together. Should Thanquol ever be wounded, then Boneripper would automatically be wounded too. This might be the best way to represent them always having to be together. And now, before we end this video, let's talk about the possible way that both Thanquol and Boneripper could be implemented into the Total War Warhammer series. In all honesty, it's very likely that Thanquol and Boneripper will be an FLC, but not your standard FLC, but rather that attached to the White Dwarf release. This makes the most sense to me, as Thanquol's rivals Gotrek and Felix have already been implemented in the exact same way. That being said, it could very well be possible that the Greyseer and his bodyguard could feature in some sort of DLC, in favour of letting another character such as Volton be the FLC Lord from the White Dwarf supplement. But what do you guys think about Thanquol and Boneripper? Do you prefer the end times look or the standard look? And how do you see this dynamic duo being implemented into the Total War Warhammer series? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various different social media links such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord, where you can get in contact with the Great Book team. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games, where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Using our special link and also our special code, both of which can be found in our description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A special thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Pence and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Hewell and VSVasan for subscribing to us at our Fane level. Honestly, I can't thank you guys enough for the support. It really means a lot to me, especially since all the money earned from Patreon goes directly back onto the channel. New webcam, equipment, microphones, and so on. And a big thank you to all of you liking, sharing, commenting on these videos. Honestly, I'm really enjoying creating this content and chatting to all of you guys about speculation, new content, and so on. It's absolutely awesome. It's been nice to make a few friends along the way. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and I shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.